Welcome to Fitz Factor, the show where you learn how to master the stock market with Dan Fitzpatrick, the stock market mentor. Dan is a savvy trader. He's featured regularly on Fox Business, CNBC, Investors Business Daily, and SiriusXM Radio. In this podcast, Dan shares his insights on trading, life, and attaining long-term success in the market.
Welcome to Fitz Factor. I'm Scott McGregor, and I work with Dan Fitzpatrick. In this episode, Dan starts by asking you questions about your trading that you should be asking yourself before you even put a new trade on. By knowing the type of trader you are and what you're trying to accomplish, you'll look at your entries differently. And that's the most important thing, because as Dan always says, entries are everything.
Okay, what type of trader are you? What's your average profit? What's your average profit on your trade? Okay, it's your number, not mine. So then you look at the stops that you're setting and you're saying, okay, if I get stopped out here, what's this loss going to be? So if your average profit is 5%, let's say, and you're setting a stop that's 7% lower or 8% lower, that's a bad risk reward because you're actually risking more than you can reasonably expect to make based on your averages, based on your average trading results. Guys, this is the type of thing that's important for you to understand. I got a real nice email from a member over the weekend who's been a member for a long time. He told me something that I'll just pass on to you because it's true. He said, I can see how you really focus on wanting all of us to be better traders. And that is my focus. But I'll tell you this, it's kind of a unique focus, and it's not a particularly great money-making focus because trading is hard. I belong to a mastermind group. It's called Driven. There are a lot of financial people in there that are kind of in the same, some of them are actually direct competitors, but when you got a market this big, there's plenty of room for everybody. Let the cream rise to the top. Though sometimes crap floats too, so whatever. But the point is, this mastermind group is focused totally, and they say this, the whole thing here is to be focused on making money. You're driven to success. There are other mastermind groups, and these are expensive ones. These aren't $5,000 things. They're $25,000, $35,000, $50,000 memberships, annual memberships. And the reason is because it's like we're here to make money. That's what we do. You're not going to get any lessons in meditation. You're not going to hear from Dr. Daniel Amen at the Amen Clinic talking about brain scans to find this and that. I've been involved in those mastermind groups in years gone by as well, and they're fine. But at this point, I'm going, you know what? I just want to learn how to make more money. And so in that group, this is where I was last week for a few days. One thing I was noticing, and it's part of the deal. They don't focus on their customers. They don't, and this isn't a bad thing. It's just like recognize what it is. They don't focus on their customers. They focus on making money. And that means that you are really just a member identification number. All of you have one of those in our system. So you're just numbers. And they look at the averages as far as like, what's my average customer CLV, customer lifetime value? What's the average number of weeks or months or years that our customers stick around? And then they focus on improving those numbers. That's what they do. And that's good business. I'm a little bit like a fish out of water on that because my focus is on making you better traders. And that's different. I'm just telling you, that's different. You don't get that on other subscription sites. Some of you guys belong to other subscription sites like this, and I know who they are, and we've talked about it at times, but they say they care about you becoming better traders, but they really don't. And the reason I'm going into all this is not to tell you like, oh, yay is me. The reason I'm going into this is because all the stuff that I'm telling you and all the stuff that Scott's telling you really does matter. If you had to choose between listening to what we say and watching how we're analyzing the charts and talking about risk management and all that, if you had to choose between learning that versus just taking the stock picks and making money, my point is this: your best trade is the knowledge that you put in your brain and the experience that you get and the creation of good habits that's going to make trading easier for you. And I've said this, I've really come to understand this more and more just over the last couple of years. The act of trading is not hard.
If you're getting value from this podcast, click the subscribe button and sign up for Dan's free daily videos at stockmarketmentor.com.
Trading really, truly is not hard. And you'll hear people say, oh, well, trading is hard. I say it. It's actually not hard. It's the mechanism of trading that creates the difficulty. And that means here, that's why there are such terms as FOMO, where your mind gets in the way of your logic. So focus on learning good trading principles and the money's going to come. It's not the other way around. How many times have you decided, I know this is true, where how many times have you decided that like you've lost a bunch of money and you kind of made some trades that were, let's just say, ill-advised. You let your stops get hit and you didn't sell, but your account's down 15, 20, 30%. Okay. It happens, but your current situation is not indicative of your future. But how many times has something like that happened because you were trading wildly and then you get bummed? And then this is what you do. You say, okay, once I get back to where I was before, then I'm going to start trading better. And that happens. That's a real thing, to where you're looking at your trading and it's crappy. And you decide that continuing your crappy trading only with bigger position size is going to get you right back to where you were before. You can't do that. You have to avoid being in that position in the first place. And if you do find yourself in that position, you know what you got to do? You got to back off, get out of the market, and then figure out what you did wrong, figure out what you need to do right, and then look at the lower right-hand corner of your trading platform, see what your equity value is right now, and say, okay, that's my starting point. What happened in the past, where I was a week ago or a month ago or a year ago, is completely irrelevant to what I'm doing right now. This is where I am. Let's go. That's how you get back more money. But it's not getting back more money, it's making new money. So learn from your mistakes, correct those mistakes, and then go forward without carrying those mistakes with you. There endeth the lesson, and that's the end of the sermon. So everybody grab your Bibles and hit your knees and let's pray. So Scott, you got anything to add? I've been
No, man. I definitely think you hit the nail on the head. You know, and a lot of it, as you have really pounded into everyone's heads over time, and into mine as well, is just about that time frame of when do you want to make money? When is your expectation of a sale? You know, you're looking to make money today, or you're looking to make money next year. And that really determines, you know, what you talked about as well with your entry. Mm-hmm. You know, I was listening to a podcast over the weekend, and they said, you know, talking about real estate buying real estate, et cetera. You know, you don't make money on the sale of the real estate. You actually start to make money on your entry at when you buy, and how you're able to time that market. And so I think by, you know, really focusing on that, you know, and then using charts to really nail down those entries and you know, be precise to put as much money to work as possible for the best return, I think is just a masterful combination. And I know that that's what you're going to be talking about, you know, with your Mentor Trading Mastery course and stuff like that. And you kind of touch on that anyways. And so do I, to be honest. You know, I'm always, especially with crypto, you know, crypto It did nothing for most of last year. And then the last 3-4 months of the year, it was the best trade to be in. And,
Yeah.
I even say to my crypto market mentor folks now, of like, okay, yeah, prices have come down, but focus on your time frame. If you have a good cushion, if you're sitting on a 400% gain from last year still, then, and you look to sell next year, well, then, look at this pullback as opportunistic, leverage that pullback for that long-term entry. But if you're looking to make money in the next day or two, well, then you're going to want to stay away. And so again, time frame is everything.
Yeah, and you can't, with respect to that, because people do the crypto. It's like 3-figure returns, 100%, 203, 400. Okay, that's a rare thing. It's a really rare thing. So if you're sitting there and not just talking about crypto, but any stock, if you're sitting there looking at your account and it's just absolutely jumped exponentially in a short period of time, it is a huge mistake to be looking at that and now projecting forward and saying, I'm going to make X amount of dollars going forward over the next, whatever it is, quarter, year. I'm going to make this amount of money because this is what I just made. Now, I made that mistake back in 2000. I made that mistake in looking at my own invincibility because I made so much money so fast. I'd been trading for not that long, but I made a whole crap ton of money in a short period of time. And my thought was, okay, well, trading isn't that hard. I've got this handled. And so I kept taking more and more risk. And then I absolutely gave all of my profits back and a considerable percentage of my initial trading account. That was the case of me saying, like I am saying now, trading is not that difficult. It wasn't then, and it isn't now. But what I didn't have figured out is the mind. I didn't have any self-awareness about all the sharks that were swimming underneath me as I floated in the waters of the market. Any dark shapes I thought I saw down there, I thought they were Flipper or Nemo or some friendly fish. And they weren't. They weren't at all. We all make those mistakes, but frankly, it starts with greed. It starts with overconfidence and inexperience. And we have people I know that have been here for a long, long time, like some for over 15 years. You guys have all made that mistake. I guarantee it. You know that you have. And you've all learned for that because you're still here and you're veterans. If you're new here, don't make that mistake. Learn from me, learn from everybody else, because if you don't, you're going to make the mistake. The best way to learn is to learn from somebody else's mistakes. If you're able to do that, then you get multiples of experience. You don't have to go through every single one. Dan and Scott say, don't take big losses. They say, honor your stops. They say, like Dan talks about R values, 1R, 2R, 3Rs. Always be looking at the potential reward versus the risk that you're taking. Okay, so I'm going to do that. And then that's your habit. And then so what happens if that becomes your habit? You completely take the big loss out of the equation because you're not putting yourself in that position. And you're not putting yourself in that position because you have learned a different way to do it. You haven't learned by experience. Oh, I remember the last time, when I lost 80% of my account because I wasn't looking at risk. You don't have to have that bad experience. All you care about is what you're doing going forward so you avoid that bad experience.
Thanks for listening to Fitz Factor with Dan Fitzpatrick. If you like this, then you'll love Dan's premium service at stockmarketmentor.com, where you can learn how to trade stocks, options, and cryptocurrencies. Click the link below and get access to real-time trading alerts, a community of traders just like you, and live training sessions each week. Get the trading edge that you need at stockmarketmentor.com.